So you didn't choose your family patterns, but I want to ask you, did you or did you not? Good morning, good morning. It's Elizabeth Elenor and it's pause. Today I want to talk to you about family dynamics because I know that we are moving into Christmas. Can you believe that today it actually means that we are a month away from Christmas? And I know that Christmas brings up a lot of stuff for a lot of people because we're seeing people that we haven't seen for a while, right? Like sometimes you don't see family until the end of the year at Christmas time and all the festivities and all that sort of stuff. And it can bring up some, you know, challenging situations. Let's put it that way, challenging situations, because there's a reason you don't see everyone. We feel like, you know, there's a saying that we didn't pick our family. And I'd like to ask you about that because from a soul level, we actually did. We decided that we were going to come down to experience ourselves. You hear me say it all the time, right? We came down to experience ourselves. And one of the things, if you've been on the spiritual journey for a while, you know that one of the things about being spiritually enlightened or spiritually growing, that we are here to attain more light, to experience ourselves at our highest performance, our highest potential. And so to think about that, if we were wanting to experience love, do you think that we would just go straight into love? Like we would just have love straight away? Or wouldn't we experience the opposite of it so that we can clean up anything that's getting in the way so we can understand what true love is? Because when you experience something and you don't have all of the understanding, you don't appreciate it, you don't get all the little pieces, you know, you don't get the depth of it, it sort of washes over you, you know. And when it's like that, then you don't have the substance that is true living life, true experiencing everything that you came here to experience. You want to experience all of the pieces, right? Well, your soul does anyway, right? So your soul forgot what it was like coming down because you come down into a family that is going to bring up all of the stuff, all of the pieces that are what I call distortions in the field, that are holding you back from experiencing your true light, from experiencing your magnificence, right? Experiencing yourself as Neo from the Matrix, right? As Alice going down the rabbit hole and experiencing Wonderland. It's surreal, the ability and the potential that we've got, because we're so conditioned to be small, to be separate, to be broken. We truly don't understand the ability that we have. And this is one of the reasons I do what I'm doing, because people just are awestruck when I say I moved from pain to make peace, right? My surname was Pain. I walked down the beach and here's a make peace. Tim on the beach, right? Here's a make peace. We found each other. Like he often, like I'll be telling the story and he says, yeah, I'm the one that turned around, right? So we found each other after both of us having challenging relationships. We found each other, and that story of pain to make peace is one of hundreds I could tell you. And I'm sure you've got your own stories of miracles or wild experiences that you've had, where chance encounters and, you know, moving through dynamics that just would be out of this world to some people. Those things are just the tip of the iceberg of what we can do. However, we've got to go into the depths Because this isn't our first rodeo, right? This is like, I'm Elizabeth this time around, but I'm sure that I've been you know, a Tom and Harry and Leanne and you know, Artemis. Like, I don't know who I've been. Tutankhamun, right? You know, like Mary, all of these things, our soul is experiencing different aspects of us at the same time. So whatever it is that we came here to clean up. Now, when I say clean up, I'm talking about anything that we look at and go, that actually is not true. It's not a truth. It's a made up construct to separate us from who we truly are, right? So a made up construct might be, for example, in my family, I'm the only girl, two boys before me, and just before me. The reason I'm alive is because there was a stillborn just before me, right? So Bradley, and in those days, he was born in 70, and I was born in 71. In those days, there was no emotional support. There was no healing the way there is now. It was like Bradley was whisked away. Mum didn't even see him. And the healing was go and have another baby. So I'm here because he passed, which in its own right is a contract between myself and Bradley, which I dealt with all my life because I was challenged with the fact that Mum was still grieving having a baby that didn't make it. She was challenged with the fact that all the things, right? And she was actually in a mental health, not that in those days it was called a psych ward. Right? She was in the psych ward for most of my pregnancy. That's why I'm a bit weird, right? And so I actually grew up in his shadow, even though he was not around and never physically met him. But I've had experiences with him in my, spiritual growth. So I had a contract with him to feel less than, didn't feel as important as a baby that never made it. I also didn't feel, I was also special somehow because I did make it. I was a girl and I cried. So I was healthy, I made it, and I was a girl. And so that meant Mum cotton-wooled me and I wasn't allowed to go and do anything with anyone, which was a very challenging way to grow up because I then didn't have much, when I did go out into the world, I had no idea what was going on. So that was a contract between me and my mother. And then on top of that, the contracts that you have with your siblings, right? I was the youngest, and my brothers felt like I got more than they did at a different time because by the time I came along, they had a little bit more money, and I was special, so I was allowed to have things that they didn't get at the same time, and all the things, right? I'm sure that you can hear in my story. You can go, yeah, same happened in my family, right? Like, I'd love to know where you were in your, what was the hierarchy? Were you the youngest? Were you the middle child? Were you the eldest? Eldest have got a challenging contract in their own. So on top of that, you've got all of the family dynamics with aunties and uncles and cousins and, extended family that aren't always on the same page as you. And so while we grow up, we have these experiences. And for me, the patterns that I came down to change or to shift for myself, but I know I was also here to change them and shift them for the whole family. And I feel like anyone that's on the planet at the moment, that's one of our jobs, our, you know, assignments, if you want to call it. There's so many different words and languages for it. We're here to shift patterns from from the old way of doing things into a new way of doing things, because we are moving from third dimension into fifth dimension. Now, at the same time, we're being, the dichotomy of it all is that a lot of people are not waking up, but then there's a whole heap of people that are waking up. And so there's a lot of division when it comes to the way things are supposed to be, or the way we want them to be, the old ways and the new ways and all of the stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff. Good morning, Wendy. And so for me, when I was waking up, growing up, we have these family dynamics, right? And there's certain patterns that keep repeating over and over again until we work out what it is that we need to shift, right? What is the healing, for want of a better word? What is the energetic imprint that is distorted from who we truly are? And so we actually, the family patterns, they're in our bloodline. They're energetically assigned, and we actually chose to come down to shift those patterns. So we came to activate these lessons, and either what we do is we either get stuck in them, or we move through them and shift them. Now, I want to give you an example, because there's two things that I'd love to share. When you shift a family pattern or a contract, you can actually shift it for generations that have gone before you. And I've had this experience. When I spiritually woke up, I had, I was doing past life regression. If you've been following me for a while, you know a bit about my story. I did 7 years of past life regression when I spiritually woke up, and I found myself in that little mini group, right? One of the things that happened for me was I did a regression, and the next day I had all of these women coming out of my crown chakra, a full line of these women holding hands, and like there would have been 100 of them going, and it freaked me out. I actually rang up my mentor and said, what's going on? And she said to me, that because of the thing that I shifted, the dynamic within me, the vibration that was not accurate, and it was something I needed to clean up, all of the women that were in my lineage that had that same frequency that was holding them back from actually getting back to the light, they all were able to release. And since then, when I've done healing sessions on people, I've had the same thing where I've seen lineages of their family leaving through their crown chakra. In fact, I did a session yesterday, a recode, and it was one of the first times I saw women coming out of someone's solar plexus, and so the power center, right? What does that mean to us? Because okay, they've all left. It actually feels lighter, because now we are not holding that burden that the rest of the family was holding and keeping us stuck in a pattern of behavior of not feeling good enough, for example. That pattern would continue to happen, and we would have the same dynamic with the same people, right? You might find that you don't feel good enough for your father, and so you have this same thing over and over and over again, this same pattern of behavior between the two of you, and you can't get out of that loop. When you can release that from your genetic imprint, all of a sudden, not only do you feel lighter, but the clarity comes and you start talking in a different language. You start showing up, because I know one of the things that happened for me was when I was doing this, the next morning I woke up and my daughter and I looked at each other. She had no idea what had happened. And we looked at each other and I could see her differently. And I know she was only young, but I know she saw me differently too. It was like a veil had lifted from the two of us. And I saw that there was more work to be done, actually. So when you can release things that may have been there for lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes, and this is the lifetime that, like, this is the time and space right now that we're being asked to clean up all of that stuff so that we can experience ourselves shifting into fifth dimension, which means holding and containing more of our light, having more miracles, having more chance encounters, having more synchronicities, I'm sure that you've noticed, like, so many more people are having their triple numbers than ever before. You know, chance encounters, phone calls, I knew you were going to ring, all of that sort of stuff is happening because we're moving slowly into a new dimension where unity consciousness is happening. Last night, Tim was hanging on the chin-up bar that we've got, and as I walked past, I thought about his stomach and it stretching. And when he came, I went upstairs, and when he came, he said, "Oh man, my stomach was really stretched." And I said, I had this thought, you know, like just at the same time. And I don't know why it surprises me anymore, because it happens all the time, right? Just completely tuned in to what's going on in the field. And we've all got this ability. However, we've got to clean the stuff up that's getting in the way, that's causing these little disturbances in the edges of our field or somewhere deep within our field. When those things, you know, like I see them as little zzz, things like that, right? They go zzz, and they're out of sync. They're like you know, like nails on a, even thinking about it, nails on a blackboard. Ugh. It's like that. It's a disturbance in your field. And so when you clean it up, now you've got the ability to really step into your power. Now you have different conversations with the same people. I had a big contract with my brother. One of my brothers. Well, both of them. Anyone you know you've got a contract with, right? Like, that's just the way it is. However, one of my brothers and I, he is very science-based, and everything he knows he's highly intelligent, and he just knows so much about science. And when I was coming into my spirituality, I was doing it through the lens of science, because I didn't believe in all this woo-woo stuff, and I'm a Virgo, right? I'm very grounded. I you know, spend a lot of time being physical, you know, and I wanted to see. I'm also a 3/5 in human design. I'm a my cross is a cross of consciousness, and I'm a manifesting generator, I think I am. Anyway, if that means anything to anyone. And one of the things is that I just lost my train of thought because someone texted me. One of the things is that as I was stepping into my spirituality, I wanted to understand it from a science, you know, evidence-based information. So I was experiencing it, but I didn't know it yet. So I'd learn something new, and I'd go over and speak to my brother about it, and he would just friggin' smash me, because it wasn't my understanding yet. It was somebody else's that I was trying to interpret and get to have a conversation with him, and he would just smash me every single time. And he also had a problem with the way I was raised and how way he was raised and all the things, right? Anyway, I was a hippie and a single mum, and he was doing it tough, bringing up himself, trying to do all the things to survive and have a normal life and all this sort of stuff. And my life seemed to be breezy, right? So that really cheesed him off as well. So we had a lot of conflict between the two of us. And at one stage, we had a massive fight that was a misunderstanding that never got resolved because no one spoke about it. No one, that was one of, that is one of my family dynamics. And let me know, guys, because I know that I'm not the only, from the only family that wants to shut their mouth whenever there is any conflict. My family just pretend it's never happened, right? And I'm not like that. I want to, hey, there's something that needs to be resolved, let's resolve it. And so this thing that was never resolved, it was never talked about, it caused us to not talk to each other for 10 years. So my brother missed out on the kids growing up. I missed out on his wedding. There was a whole heap of stuff. We resolved it when I finally started shifting some of the contracts that I had and let go of being scared of him, and finally went and spoke to him, and we sort of resolved it. But then there was still these little layers, and it wasn't until actually only a couple of years ago that, I became part of his family again, and he became part of mine, and everything seemed to be okay. However, I finally rang him and told him what had happened for me on my side when that incident happened, and he had no idea of what was going on for me. And then he got the opportunity to share with me what happened for him when I was raising my kids before that, and why he was feeling resentful. And we had this beautiful conversation and shifted all of this energy between the two of us. So that is a contract being resolved. And now we have great conversations. We still don't see eye to eye. We still have very different opinions about things. However, because we've got a deeper understanding of the love that we have for each other, and that makes me a little bit emotional, that love outweighs everything else because we've cleared all the rest of the stuff. You don't have to be the same to love each other. And so this is the sort of work that we're here to do. Our families are holding all these codes that you came to clean up inside you, not with them. Like, it's with them because they're the ones that mirror and reflecting the distortion to you. But the cleaning up is internal. It's the stuff within us that we're wanting to shift. So those codes, those contracts are holding you back from living in freedom, living at that new elevated state where, what if your conflict with your brother is the very thing that's holding you back from meeting the love of your life, or getting that new job, or enjoying your children, right? Like, these things all have little connections to them all over the place. And so that's why this year, every month, we've had times where we haven't done it, but every month we generally have what I call a monthly mix-up, right? In Awakening Magical Women, which is my Facebook group. We do a monthly mixer, and they're generally free because they're just a connection. Everyone gets to chat, and I give a little bit of information. We might do a meditation, all of those things. But this year, in December, it just dawned on me how important it is for us to be clearing up the contracts, the soul contracts between people, because we are in a 9-year. This is a completion year, and next year we start another year. So it's a 9-year cycle. So what's that? 2025. I think it's 2016. Is that right? We from 2016 to 2025 has been 9 years in the same cycle. And now we're just about to move into another cycle. So wouldn't you want to go into a new 1 year clear and clean of any baggage that's weighing you down and holding you back from achieving the love of your life, achieving intimate connection between you and your partner, you and your children, you and your family, you and your parents, you and your friends? Like, is there any friendships that you like that there's stuff going on? That's why I've decided to do a really deep recode, a really clean up, clear it, and so that it's accessible to everyone. Because, you know, reciprocal energy, I can't do everything for free. I am running a business. And even though there's part of me that is challenged with that, because I want to do everything for free, I am running a business, and that's part of my contract with myself, is acknowledging and running a business, because there's stuff with my mum around that, because her business fell apart once my dad died, and it's a whole story, a different story altogether. I decided that this monthly mixer is going to be $33, right? So it's an easy, quick, not too expensive, but enough to be giving that reciprocal energy backwards and forwards, so that as I support you, that there's an exchange. And it's deep work. It's there to clear any lineage that might need to go to the light, that are stuck in your auric field, in your DNA. It's here to clean up what's going on. So we're finishing a 9-year. It's here to let you feel spiritually light instead of the heaviness, the chaos, the overwhelm that can happen when we're not in our true essence, when we're not living at our highest potential. So it's on the 9th, the 3rd, I don't know, it's on next week. It's on in December, and it's going to be a powerful session. So throw in here release, and we will send you the link. Jump into Awakening Magical Women. We've got heaps of stuff going on there. It's a very active group. I know that a lot of Facebook groups aren't active. It's got a lot of free stuff in there as well. I'm doing a 30-day White Rabbit challenge at the moment to show you how to follow these threads, and that's free. There's a whole heap of stuff. However, this soul contract thing is extremely important. So if there's anything stirring for you, you can feel that there's a body yes, that this is something that you need, throw in to the comments, release, and we will send you the link. And I will see you next Tuesday. Mwah.